Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Thorp TV, Misunderstood, and kick.com/thorptube. My name is Gracethorp, and I am multi-streaming today to pretty much all of my platforms because I got some very interesting stuff to talk about, and I want this to be as public as possible. I am going to sue Keemstar officially. I've made my decision. I've started a GoFundMe, and I'm going to do it. It's my first time suing anybody, but I am going to sue Keemstar, and I believe the legal term for what I'm suing him for is tortious interference. TORTIOUS. Because I have to thank Lynx for dropping the 3-hour phone call she had with Keemstar like a week ago, in which he admits to getting my channels taken down and demonetized personally under false pretenses. And tortious interference is a legal term, which means attempting to or breaking somebody's contract, somebody's business contract with like between two people, going in between that and lying about one of them in order for the contract to be broken. So I believe I have a solid legal case for that. I have evidence of him admitting to doing this. And Keemstar has no reason, he has no valid reason for interfering with my business contracts with both YouTube and Kick. He tries to give reasons in the audio. We'll be going through it. He does not actually have reasons. The one reason he gives for Kick is that he says I was doing illegal stuff in the form of trespassing or going onto private property. I rode my bike onto a driveway on Kick. That was the closest I ever came to private property. That's a gray area. A driveway is considered curtilage. It's not private property necessarily, and it certainly isn't trespassing. That's the one reason he gave for why he tried to get my Kick and YouTube channels taken down. The other reasons he gave, that's the only you could consider semi-valid reason. The other things he said were that my dad said that lolcowlive was going down and that I was going to take them down through stream sniping them. And so that was the other reason why my channels got taken down, which is not a valid reason. That is straight up tortious interference. You don't like what I'm saying about you or your business, so you interfere with my contract with YouTube and Kick in order to take my livelihood away. I'm going to sue you for that. And I'm excited. I'm a little nervous.
So over the last, I want to say the last couple of weeks, maybe like a month or two, this whole thing about suing people has been very much a topic among the thorps, right? Particularly with Grace and Ben, obviously, because they are the main people of the thorps, right? The thorp verse, as you want to even say. And they have been trying to quote unquote sue, right? So I believe the first time they attempted it was with Keemstar, right? But that didn't really go anywhere. The second time was clearly with RTU, and I believe the third time in parallel with RTU was Ruby, right? She attempted or at least threatened to sue or whatever, right? For any amount of reason. Now with the RTU and Ruby stuff, that really went nowhere, right? It was just kind of like a nothing burger on their end. For any amount of reason, especially the RTU stuff, because they really could not be able to, at least in their side, be able to gain any favorable, right? And the confidence and sort of smugness he has is kind of hilarious in my eyes, because he really thinks that this is going to go through this. He really thinks that this is going to be this really big thing. And now there has been YouTubers who sue other YouTubers, but for very different things, right? For any amount of things, right? I believe the current one, right, is Billy Mitchell versus Carl, right? The whole thing about, if you don't know who Carl, he's the guy who outed the completionist, and right now he was in the midst of a legal battle between him and Billy Mitch over, originally people thought it was over the Donkey Kong or Pac-Man speedrun. That wasn't the case. It was actually had to do with Apollo Legend, right? It was kind of like something, we may see something kind of similar, but not really like that. Now, in the midst of this, he even like started up a fundraiser, like $10,000 for a fundraiser. And as everybody has said, I haven't checked on the fundraiser recently, so I have to see where the current numbers are at. But yeah, apparently at the recording, last time I heard, it had around like $250, maybe a little bit more. I don't know why people are supporting that, because we all know that ultimately that they're just gonna run away with the money, right? Right.
Okay, so that's his claim for why he did it. Not, I didn't do any of that. Okay, so. Right. Yeah. Mm-mm. His own employees. Okay, let's see here. Her channels and shit all got banned. Yeah, did you have something to do with that? Yes. Okay, so direct admission of involvement in, well, I mean, direct admission of interference with my contracts with YouTube and Kick. I don't know what else to say. Direct admission. And I think we should. Ryler just gifted 2 subs. Ryler gifted 2 subs on Kick. Thank you very much, Ryler. What's up, Dr. Computer Shop? I haven't seen you for a while. Okay, so what he says here I think should also be included. Let me just play that back again. Time, but not the second time. Did you pay me the first time? Just yes. So you really. Okay, so 3409. I think this is important. I'm not sure exactly, but 3409. Links says, so you really don't hate me that much if you didn't go after me. Okay, implying that the reason he took me down was for hatred, not for some TOS thing. He goes,
Now we're seeing her sort of develop a battle plan and kind of using Link's 3-hour video as a sort of way to prove the judge or the court that she may have an advantage. Now, in the midst of all of this, he had an interview with Ethan Ralph about this, and you can kind of just tell that Ethan Ralph was just kind of laughing to himself because like no one is gonna take this really serious. None of the courts are gonna take it serious, especially in New York City, right? Let's think about it this way. You know, in the current time, at least recently, it's in now, especially with laws in place, most courts are just gonna look at it and like not care one bit because they don't want to involve themselves with this public drama, right? They don't want to involve themselves with these big time names. Again, they have been YouTubers who sued each other, but a lot of the time they get thrown away or they don't really mean much. In the case of Keemstar, I believe Keemstar has been sued in the past. But if he hasn't, it doesn't really matter because the guy can and will get an army of lawyers on his side, right? You have a small little content creator who is notorious for starting shit and has everything out there, and you have Keemstar, who he is a scumbag, and it'd be funny to see him in court. At the same time, it's like I doubt he has any real grounds to win or even had the advantage like she wants to believe. It's sort of this childish mentality. Plus, depending where the court's gonna be, he may be more likely to win. Let's be honest, right? A lot of courts are corrupt nowadays, and if it's gonna be in his, obviously it's gonna be in his state. It's gonna probably also be within his jurisdiction, his county, maybe even his municipality, which is probably where it's gonna happen because he's technically suing her in Technically, she is suing him in New York, would mean that they're gonna have to go to his municipality, to his court, and depending, the court may be in favor in Keem, depending how far Keem is, entrenched himself in that area. That happens a lot. If you ever dealt with rich people in a lot of areas, a lot of the time they do entrench themselves within the public court system, one way or another, right? Or they have a lot of connections. And if Keemstar, who probably has the best lawyer maybe in New York, or at least has one of the best lawyers in New York, and probably has one of the best lawyers in his municipality, it wouldn't matter because those lawyers are sometimes cahoots or good friends with the court themselves or the judge. So it's kind of like you're going against something that you are less likely to win. If I were to give you a ratio, it's probably like 20% chance you may win, 80% chance that Keemstar will win. And it's funny that she tried to rope Links in, who doesn't want to be involved. And as I said, like given that the courts or the lawyers are gonna have to side, they're gonna have to go through have to look at both sides, look at all the video, and they're just gonna throw this out in court. It's unlike the whole Crit thing, where with Crit he committed a crime off camera, right? But because the court saw, or one of his lawyers probably saw the amount of evidence and all the stuff that he went through, they probably threw it out of court, or they didn't really throw it out of court, but they just said, like, they don't even put him in jail, put him in a mental asylum. That's what ended up happening, right? And in some regard, this is the same thing. It'd be fun to see Keemstar in court, but we all know this may not even go far, and probably she's not gonna be able to raise the money because this is gonna cost more than $10,000. This may even cost more than $50,000, $100,000, and she has to raise most of the money herself because she can't always rely on her audience, right? It'd be great to see it. It'd be great to see that low court is being called, but at the same time, it's like this may not go anywhere. She told Ethan that she will not proceed without a lawyer, and like, okay, well, like, lawyers cost a lot of money. You're hiring a lawyer, then you gotta also pay the time that you're hiring them, right? Then you also gotta pay for a whole bunch of other stuff. It's not gonna cost you $10,000. It's probably gonna cost you a lot more than $10,000. It may cost you $50,000, right? Maybe the minimum, right? We can see it's something like 20 to 30,000. The maximum could be whatever. Good luck on her, but we all kind of know where this is heading, and maybe we all don't want to say anything because we want to see the shit show, and that's what it comes down to. It's not about if she could win; it's more about the shit show, and let's see what happens. And I'll kind of update people as we go along. But if this doesn't go anywhere, we're gonna probably expect one of the biggest, quote unquote struggle sessions. And as I said, this is also in the midst of Ben divorce with his wife. I doubt the courts are gonna look at that, but they may look at like the stuff that's behind, because the courts are gonna look into their past. It's not like, oh, we're not gonna. They're just gonna look at it as it. No, their names are out there. They're gonna look at both of their past, and they're gonna just see the kind of like, ugh. And if it's true about their incestual relationship, worst case scenario, they get arrested in New York City, or New York, my bad. Right, upstate in New York particularly. But till next time, y'all, have a good one, be safe, and God bless.